What's up, guys? Welcome to GuildGab episode 38. This is a show all about everything Guild Wars 2, focusing on PvE lore and everything Heart of Thorns. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of different kind of stuff. We know that the new Lion's Arch update's coming. We've got wallet changes, skill point changes, condition changes. Guild halls are coming at E3. We've got scientific weapons, Duena's Regalia, lots and lots of different things to talk about today. So, first, let me introduce everyone. I am your host, AuroraPeachy, and my wonderful, fabulous, shiny co-hosts are Akasaurus Rex, Corvus, Alex, and Inks. How's it going, guys?
What's going on, guys?
It's going good. This has been quite the week so far.
Lots
We're all a bit
of
sweaty,
stuff
aren't
this
we?
week.
Oh, right, Guild Wars.
Very busy.
We're not talking about how much we're dripping at the moment.
Yes, I think every one of us is dripping with sweat because we were talking in the pre-show about how it's just really hot. Like, I am burning up.
Heat wave.
Heat wave. That's summer for you. All right. So, not really a lot to talk about, but we got confirmation that in the quote-unquote next update, we are getting the new Lion's Arch, as well as a lot of other changes. But we know that the new Lion's Arch changes were coming. Don't know what next update means, though.
No.
Does that mean next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Or
3 months from now.
Yeah, I think part of me is like, if it was to be next Tuesday, they would have just said next Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think because it's the next content update, it could just be whenever it's ready and they plan to put it out. I would like for it to be next Tuesday, though, definitely.
yeah.
I think, best case scenario, I think we're looking at 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it is a quote-unquote content patch, so that also could mean slightly longer. Let's hope it's not slightly longer.
Right.
And that would be great.
Because, I mean, every Tuesday they have an update, like, to the gem store. They've been putting out gem store items every Tuesday.
Right.
So they don't consider that an update. Like, I don't know. The wording was confused. Right, a content update. But there's a lot of stuff coming. I think this is when the new trait changes are coming? The new skill balances, the trait balances?
Potentially, yeah.
And then with them announcing the wallet changes, the skill point changes, this is almost seeming like a feature pack update.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I think, my personal opinion, it might be the Tuesday after, because next week is E3. And,
E3,
The last thing, the last thing that they're going to want to do is steal their own thunder, especially because they've got some fairly big hitters to contend with at E3 this year. So I don't think there'd be much point going, guild halls, and then we're also doing this other stuff as well. But you guys don't really need to know about that because guild halls.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that I definitely don't think it'll be. Yeah, the E3 next week is just they're going to be so busy with organizing
That's probably
everything.
going to be all that's next week.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we're going to get a release date at E3?
That's the question.
I sure hope so.
I hope so.
That would be nice.
I hope so too.
Or at least, like, how would you feel about getting the chance to pre-order the game, but not an actual release date?
Did they do that originally with the game? The original game, they gave us the pre-orders, but not the. Because I can't. This was like
I honestly don't
I don't remember.
I think it would be weird, right, if for them to not give us a release date and let us pre-order. So if we see a pre-order thing happen at all next week, then I think it's likely we would see a release date, right? Like, it just makes sense. Yeah. And when we're getting closer to the period, I mean, everyone's saying around the end of August or something like that for a release date. They're going to need to, like, order physical copy stuff, really get everything made and planned properly.
Yeah.
So I think we're at the point where they could give us a solid release date. As much as things seem to be up in the air, you know, these numbers aren't final, and this might not be exactly how it is when the expansion hits and stuff. I think they're at a point where they're close enough to safely, set themselves a deadline. So
yeah,
I would like to see a release date, and I think if we get any kind of pre-order thing, it's pretty likely that a release date will come with it. At least that's what I want.
So it would appear that Guild Wars 2 was on pre-order, but we had no release date originally. They were kind of selling this concept of, beta weekends and stuff like that.
Because we still need more beta weekends for Hot.
Yeah.
We know more of those are coming. And I kept saying that, Guild Halls is probably going to be the last thing we hear about. But we know that we're going to hear about that next week. We do still have 6 specializations to hear about. Wait. 6? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. 6. Because we've got the Revenant one to hear about, and on top of that we have a ton of
Legends
stuff more
too.
to learn about the Revenant, the rest of the legends, the weapons,
and not to mention challenging content,
challenging group content.
Yeah,
it's like if they still keep their cadence up. I mean, I thought we were gonna be almost done with specializations at this point, and we still haven't heard what the 4th specialization is. And I just feel like with the pace that they're putting out updates, it's like end of August. I don't know.
Yeah, see,
I hope so.
I hope so more than anything. But I'm actually starting to kind of, leak over into September a bit. Yeah. I think it's likely that it could be around then, just because of how that everything we've seen hasn't been super final yet, and we've still got a lot to learn. And they wanted to. It's only fair for them to give each specialization a week to focus on. It'd be kind of weird for them to do a 4-hour stream again and just go through all the specializations in one go just because they're out of time.
Yeah.
Right.
What's interesting as well is I read somewhere the other day that Stronghold is going to come in before Heart of Thorns as well. That's going to be coming in. Yeah, I can't remember where I read it.
Well,
it might just, or is it just conjecture? But
okay, so there was a post about Stronghold that in the patch on Tuesday, there was, for a very tiny window, there was a PvP preference queue system that was quickly removed, and then John Corpening went to the forums and said this is something that they're working on because of feedback from Stronghold, and that they hope that the next Stronghold beta, whenever that is, that we would get to test out this feature. Not guaranteed, of course, but it's something they're working on because of feedback that we as players gave in Stronghold. And I think that's important. I think it's important that players see this message from ArenaNet that says, listen, we're listening to your feedback, and we're making changes in the game, and we're making UI changes because you guys really want this thing, and we've seen and heard you. So very positive.
Do you guys
I'm just excited for more Stronghold. Gotta be honest.
Stronghold is really fun. Do you guys do you want Hot to come out as soon as possible, or realistically, do you want it to be complete? You know what I mean? Would you rather it come out later and be 100% done and complete, or do you want it out now? Both your personal opinion, and do you think how the community is reacting to it?
I think that personally, I'd like to play it and just get my hands on it and do whatever. The problem with that is that they tried to do that with the original launch of the game, and as a result, people got to Orb before it was actually finished, and they couldn't do anything with it. I think one of the major patches they did to Orb was they thinned out the mobs, but that was pretty much all they could do. So with that in mind, I think the community as a whole, and I think the sensible decision would be to wait until everything is complete, all the areas are finished. So, someone who can, stay up for 168 hours straight and plow through all of the content in the expansion can do that. Get to the end of the expansion, complain that there's nothing left to do in the game. OMG, Guild Wars 2 is dead. But at the same time, they've all of the content actually works, if that makes sense. Because people will do that, won't they? They will no-life the game and do it inside a week and then bitch about it. But I think it's going to be the situation for ArenaNet is going to be they're going to be in a lot stronger position if everything is actually there and it works, and this new challenging content is working correctly. Excuse me. There aren't random bugs where you can jump through walls or all kinds of things.
Especially with the glider, maybe get to places you're not supposed to be.
Well, yeah, exactly. And if you look at some of the original exploits that plagued the game in the early days, like the Ghost Pepper exploit, the 21 Karma exploit, there were a bunch of things in Citadel of Flame as well that players took advantage of, and having that, I think the parts of the community that have been around for a long time would hope that ArenaNet have kind of learned from that and just gone, right, we don't want to leave any of this very, very easily exploitable stuff in our expansion at launch.
I think it shows how important beta tests and stuff are, just to make sure things are working as they should be. It's obviously everyone wants to play it, right? We all want to play it really bad, and we'd want it to be out tomorrow if it could be. But I mean, I think the community as a whole has been asking for an expansion for quite a while, and a lot of people didn't want. I mean, it's different, but I mean, Living Story was content over time, and I think if they were to release it too early, that's essentially what we'd be getting, because they would have to patch things, they would have to fix stuff, and it wouldn't be playable in its kind of finished state until a few months after we'd been able to do stuff in it. And so I think it's always better to, you know, make people wait until it's polished as much as possible. But I think to get around that, like if they had to say release it in October or something like that, obviously everyone's going to be disappointed, and if that's the release date they say, yeah, it's a shame. But that's why I think there should be a lot of beta tests, and they should be implementing a lot of the kind of quality of life changes and more feature pack style stuff way before, just so we're still getting stuff to do and we're helping them in terms of making sure the game's perfect.
Yeah. And we are still getting content. I mean, we're going to go through a bunch of changes that are coming, and these are not Heart of Thorns changes. These are like, hopefully in a couple weeks. So let's talk about the wallet changes. This took me completely by surprise. I was not expecting them to upgrade the wallet again. So the biggest thing is a couple things. First of all, they're adding some of the currencies that go into the wallet, and I think all of these are wonderful and were very much needed. They're adding pristine fractal relics, World vs. World tournament claim tickets, geodes, and bandit crests. Those to me are the two big ones. Thank you. These maps, for those of you who don't know, the geodes and bandit crests are the two currencies that are exclusive to Dry Top and the Silver Wastes, and you get tons of these things, especially bandit crests with all the events and pop-up chests and stuff that you get in the Silver Waste. Your inventory will just be full of these things, especially if you're like a dedicated farmer.
What was so weird was. What was so weird? What was so weird was back before the wallet was upgraded the first time, dungeon tokens were part of your bank, weren't they? And this was before before you could buy the expansion tab things, and so they drop into like your materials collection. You could only have 250 of them in there, and so. Your bank would
dungeon tokens I don't think could be put in the collections tab. You could just put them in your regular bank tab. They were just items.
It took up a lot of room.
Was there never a materials tab for them?
No.
There still would be.
I think it's just bank.
I would think. Well, they're in the wallet now.
Yeah, you had stacks and stacks of dungeon tokens.
Oh god, yeah. Like my bank was just full of cough tokens. It was ridiculous. I ended up buying like just gifts of Balefire to get rid of them before I knew what I should have been doing with them, which was buying the weapons and armor. But it's such a great idea that they're finally going in and just, like I said, just clearing all that crap out of your inventory. And of course, the cynic in me has read the bit where you'll be able to click on golden gems in your wallet, and it'll take you directly to the gem store to buy more gems.
You can actually do that right now. You can click on your gems, and it takes you to the buy more gems exchange thing.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. That's fine though. I don't think I've ever clicked on my gems. Like I have no purpose to click on them. So that's just a quality of life thing.
Yeah, and I think it is cool for, let's say, dungeon tokens, for example. You can click on right now you can scroll over and it will tell you like what token comes from the dungeon. But you'll be able to now click on that dungeon token and it will show you the entrance to the dungeon. And for veteran players, it's not a very big deal. But for new players, I think that's pretty huge. It's a big thing. You could level up or run through a zone and not actually discover the dungeon and not really have a clue. Sure, you do get a piece of mail when you hit a particular level that says, hey, come over here to AC and do the dungeon. But it's just another guidance thing, and it's another quality of life thing. I'm a little sad to see the grid go, because the grid is so pretty and nice, but people have been pointing out since day one, the problem with the grid is it's just not very expandable. Even if you make the icon smaller and rearrange it, it's still a problem going forward. So we're now going to have a list, and it will be much easier to add to that list any new currencies we get. And I've seen a lot of people asking questions about things like obsidian shards, the Dragonite ore and Bloodstone shards and stuff like that. And I think it's important, as much as I would love that stuff to be in the wallet, because I have literally hundreds of stacks of these things. Yeah. It's important to remember that those are materials. They're not a currency.
Yeah. Yes.
So you need to be able to take them out of the wallet and withdraw them and use them to make a variety of different things. So that's why they're not in the wallet.
Right.
Yeah. And you'd have to go back to that situation of taking materials out of your bank or out of your wallet or whatever, so you could use them. Because at the moment, which again, it's a quality of life thing, materials are now automatically detected from your bank stash or your material stash when you go and craft, instead of having to drag them out and start again.
Right.
But there was another little quality of life thing as well, where depending on what game mode that you drop into, your primary currency changes. So if you drop into World v World, your primary currency stops being gold and it becomes badges of honor, which is kind of cool.
I thought that was very cool.
It's just like one of those nice little touches, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's like the secondary one, isn't it? Because it'll always show your gold, but I think the other side changes.
Oh, the karma one, yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because anytime I'm in World v World, it's like Edge of the Mist or something, and it's to farm karma. So seeing my karma would probably be more useful for me than badges of honor, which I don't really use for anything. But I don't know. Maybe it'll become more useful.
Yeah.
All right. The other thing is that it says at the top of the wallet is a drop-down menu that will filter the wallet to display only the currency categories you want to see. See, now to me, I agree with Inks. I like the grid. It's nice and simple. Even though I hardly ever have a reason to go to that tab in the hero panel, because if I want to see my currencies, I just go to I open up my inventory and I mouse over the whatever.
The bar at the bottom.
Yeah, there's a thing at the bottom right that you mouse over and you just see all your currencies right there in a list, and it's nice and clean. So I don't ever go to that tab. So I guess that it's good that they're putting more information in that tab, because it gives you, especially new players, like veteran players, not really, but new players, it gives you a reason to go there. It gives like a real use for that tab, and it'll show you, oh, I need more of this. It'll show you where the dungeon is. I imagine that if you click on a fractal relic, it'll take you to it'll show you where the portal is in Lion's Arch to get to the fractals. So yeah, especially for newer players, it's very, very convenient. So I like it.
Yeah,
I think
Spirit Shards, they're gonna be in the wallet too, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
No matter, it's not like,
yes.
Because like when I made Howler, it must have been a month or two ago or something like that, and like I had nearly 100 skill points on both my characters. This is fresh after getting Frostfang, which I have, by the way. So like I was still needed to farm 200 skill points, right? I do it so you guys don't get there first. But so the thing is, like, had I been able to combine the skill points across those two characters, all of which I'd earned in game and stuff, I could have done it instantly, but I had to farm like 100 skill points, But now, across all your characters, it's all going to be in your wallet, and you can, I don't know, it's just amazing. That's super good. I'm tempted to wait until it's changed before I farm again to get the Minstrel, because, I don't know, I'm super close.
Well, the thing is, there's going to be a conversion rate, isn't there? Is it? I don't think they've said what it's going to be, but I would imagine that it was a 1-to-1 ratio. That you're going to use these spirit shards to buy all your stuff from Mayani. And at first, I was very kind of remiss about the fact they're getting rid of skill points and turning them into this currency, because they haven't specified that Mayani will no longer rely on skill points.
Well, they've said that it's really two different systems. The skill points or the hero points in the world are going to be separate from the skill points you get when you level up over and over. And the Tomes of Knowledge after 80 will give you those. Or I'm sorry, the Scrolls of Knowledge. They've kind of said from the beginning those should have been two different systems, because they want skill points or hero points to be what you use to unlock your skills on your character to level up, and they want these spirit shards, as they're going to be now, as like the currency that Mayani takes. So those are going to be two separate things, and like you said, spirit shards are going to be in the wallet. So here they made 4 bullet points on how this is going to work. The first one is that Tomes of Knowledge will level you up if you're under level 80 and give 1 spirit shard if you've reached level 80. So that's pretty much the same because you have this 1-to-1 ratio. You know, if you're under level 80, it does what it does. It gives you a level. If you're over, you know, if you have either just one main character, you know, then it makes sense. I don't think there's any dispute about that point. Writs of Experience can only be used if you're under level 80, and they can be traded into Miani for a Tome of Knowledge, which gives you a Spirit Shard, at a rate of 20 writs per tome. Now that's the same. You used 20 writs before, basically to gain a level,
to grow a level, yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So
conversion is the same.
I think that makes
pretty
sense.
much the exact same.
That's pretty much the same as it is. Okay. This one's interesting. Leveling up after 80 no longer grants skill points, but level 80 characters will be able to loot spirit shards off of monsters. This is cool. Interesting.
Yes.
I think that...
Go ahead.
I think that at the moment, now that it's pretty easy to get Scrolls of Knowledge, isn't it? They just kind of bleed from every orifice in the game at the moment. Like you trip over them as you wander around to do your daily. So I think putting a random mechanic back into the game where, you know, you can pick up these shards and that, which, you know, to be honest, most players, once they've got all their skills, they do save them up to buy things from Miani. And again, instead of just kind of doing your daily and waiting to save up for these things and relying, because they kind of drop from like most of your daily chests now as well, and don't they? So the thing is, all you've got to do, you've got to do a couple of dailies, and then you end up with what 30 after a week or something, and they slowly build up. But giving you the opportunity to, and this is what I think they should do with dyes as well, by the way, if not only to drop the price down, they should put them back into the loot table with the spirit shards, so it gets people back out into the world and farming them.
Yeah.
So it's going to get people,
cool, actually.
It gives people another reason to not even just farm events, but just go around and attack mobs that they find on the off chance they drop a spirit shard.
I think that I just found this so odd because they're turning it from a guaranteed thing at 80 to an RNG thing at 80. Now, I don't know what the drop rate is going to be for these, but it's, again, yeah, it's turning it into something that I guess you could farm it before because you could basically farm experience to get more and more skill points after 80, because every time you level up, you get a skill point. Now you can't do that anymore. It's like once you level up after 80, what is the point? I feel like, what do you get when you level up after 80?
It's mastery points.
That's mastery points now. Yeah.
As long as you make sure you select a mastery track.
Yes.
If you don't select a track, then you're just wasting that.
It's getting nothing.
Whatever.
Very, very good point. Very good point.
So, is there...
I can just imagine Peachy running around for like 40 hours in Heart of Thorns. It's like, I've not got any mastery.
I haven't getting anything. Okay, that was my bad. Yeah, I just thought that was very interesting, turning it into an RNG thing.
How many skill points do you need to unlock all the skills? I'm not expecting anyone to actually know the number.
465.
But are we 465?
Now, that doesn't include elite specializations because we don't know exactly how much those utilities and skills and such costs. But for all the core specializations, it's 465.
Will we get enough? Because it doesn't... I don't know, I've read it a few times, and maybe I'm just being stupid, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be a way to really get
all your
skill
abilities?
points after you hit level cap?
400. You get 400 points from going from level 1 to 80. So all level 80s will have a flat 400, and then you'll have to do 65 hero points or skill points in order to collect the rest.
That's fine.
I guess the question becomes, if let's say I have Inks, who, I mean, okay, let's not take Inks because he is complete on everything. Let's take my Necro, for example, who is a new character, probably will never see the light of day. She's level 80, so she has 400 points, but she doesn't have the rest of the map complete. The question I have becomes, what if she completes part of the map, does that mean that she has everything unlocked? I assume the answer is yes. I mean, that makes logical sense. They're not going to make you redo skill points. That would be silly.
No.
Right.
And if you do all the skill points in the game, which are like 200 something now, 203 or I don't know the exact number, but that would give you like 600 skill points. You only need 465, so you're still going to have an overabundance of these things going forward to pay for your future elite specializations. And this doesn't include any of the hero challenges or skill challenges that might be in Heart of Thorns as well.
Right.
So what are we gonna do with those? That's the thing.
Save them
Future elite
for
specializations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
that could be it.
Just build them up. Yeah. All right.
Oh, that's right.
The last point was any scrolls of knowledge, which before just gave you 1 skill point, that you have in your possession will automatically be converted into spirit shards, and any source that used to award scrolls of knowledge will now directly grant you spirit shards. So this goes back to, like, I have a lot of alts, and they don't all have, like, enough skill points to unlock every single one of their abilities. So I actually, if I wanted to unlock all of their abilities, I should go and use those scrolls of knowledge now, right? Rather than wait, and then I will have to go do hero points in order to unlock the rest of my abilities for my alts.
It's a good point. I think on paper, yeah, it seems like that's the best thing to do.
If that's what you want instead of the
spirit
shards. You gotta wait, which, you know.
So, this is the confusing point. This is where we get into the confusing things. I apologize to anyone who also finds this confusing, but hero points are going to be a flat thing. So hero points are going to be determined by your level, and it's going to be determined by how many skill challenges you've done in the world. Now, all your excess skill points currently, some characters have 1,000, you might have 65, those will all turn into spirit shards. The other thing to take away from this is that if you have several stacks of these, like I know Matt said he's got 6 stacks of these scrolls or something, you don't have to go click those now. Just save them. They will automatically be turned into spirit shards when this patch goes through.
Yeah.
And yeah, your spirit shards are going into the wallet, so they're going to be account bound across all your characters. I believe you'll have to log into each character in order for the skill points to be turned into hero shards. But that's going to be an automatic process, and it's changing the name of it. It's making it a currency, and it's separating it from what you unlock your abilities and your skills with. You're still going to go to Miani. She's just going to take shards instead of skill points. So really, it's not actually the mechanics of it isn't really changing. It's kind of like just separating the two, as they always should have been, really. So it's kind of confusing now, but I think once the update goes live, it's going to be very obvious.
And it's going to completely negate the need for the new hero points are going to completely negate the need for having skill points, because hero points, you put them into your little tracks, and that unlocks the skills, doesn't it? Everybody wins.
Yes.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Was Modern Authorize's point earlier and stuff as well. Like, but do you think there's going to be more uses for the spirit shards? Do you think they're going to add a lot more? I don't know whether through legendary crafting or if there's going to be other recipes that need more ingredients, but really to put an emphasis on, because they're increasing the drop rate of them. If they're adding an RNG way to loot them off monsters, then they are just going to be, just in general more available to everyone. So maybe we're going to have a lot more things to spend them on other than just the odd Mystic Forge recipe and a legendary.
I rarely go and talk to Miani as it is, so I would like for there to be something else that she provides. But we're going to have new legendaries to go after. But then not everybody goes for legendaries, so it would be nice for them to have something to spend it on.
But legendaries needed even like kind of crafting your unique skins, everything from like Eternity to Mjolnir, Infinite Light, Volcanus, and all that kind of thing. They either all like require Bloodstone shards or Eldritch Scrolls.
Eldritch Scrolls, yeah.
And then you've got the ones that you've got your Mystic Clover recipe that needs Philosopher's Stones, or are they just called crystals? Are they shocking crystals or something?
Yeah, just crystals.
Like and so I think there's still going to be the need for them. I think eventually having the whole point of the end game is cosmetics, isn't it? And eventually you're going to build up so much of this crap in your wallet. Someone's going to go, hey, I've got 5,000 spirit shards now. Might as well spend them on something.
Yeah,
so that's some easy gold that you can make there if you start churning out anomalies and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
Two more pieces of food for thought. First one is, if you want to make ascended weapons or armor, you need 20 skill points or soul shards for each one.
Yeah.
That's each weapon, that's each piece of armor. So that's one thing. The second thing is, you can go to a website like Guild Wars 2 Shinies, and there is actually a skill point to, and I guess it will probably change to soul shard, or spirit shard rather, but there is a skill point to gold conversion, and it will list out how many skill points you can spend on how much gold you can make to make these Mystic Forge weapons. So for all those people who are always asking, how do you make gold in this game? You know, it does take extra work, obviously, but this is one way you can actually convert your skill points into actual money.
We have a lot of questions in chat about this. During the post show, we'll be happy to answer all your questions to the best of our ability. But we're gonna move on for now to the next topic. But stay tuned, because I know this is very confusing for a lot of people, and so we'll do some clarification afterwards, guys. But for now, let's move on to skins. We got a lot of new skins this week. The scientific weapons, a new Black Lion weapons.
They're pretty cool.
They were cool.
Are amazing. They're not just pretty cool. This is the best set ArenaNet has produced in literally months. And I'm not trying to down on anybody who makes these for ArenaNet. I have no idea who actually makes the skins, the different artists that are involved. All the skins, there's generally several I like in each set. But this set, besides maybe the rifle, I love every single one of them, absolutely. I'm probably not going to own any of them, but I absolutely love every skin.
So there's 4 or 5 that are just phenomenal, like Mace, Scepter, Staff, and Torch as well, I think.
I was sitting at the airport on Tuesday and watching Richie's video reviewing them, and I have social anxiety, so I try and just keep to myself. But I saw the Scepter, and I go, "Oh my god!" Right in the middle of the airport, and like people are gonna be looking at me like I was like, "Wow."
I mean, everybody's preference is different, but I mean, it has smoky ooze coming out of it. They're stylistically steampunk, if you like that sort of thing. Some of them have little pumps. The scepters and staff have like moving pieces that stop and reverse on themselves. I mean, come on. They have animations. They have smoke. There's a lot going on in that weapon set that's very cool. There's even like some of them have a little torch that's heating like the little globe that's inside that makes the potions come out, and I don't know. I really love the set.
Yeah,
I was really surprised and impressed by them all. I don't think I'll ever use them though. Like, because I kind of have a set theme for all my characters, and I just don't really see a place for them. But at the same time, I think they're super detailed, like really imaginative. They have everything, like you said, they're detailed, they're cool looking, and they have like the effects on them and stuff like that. They have a concept behind them, kind of. I don't know. On paper, they're great, but I don't think I'm gonna use any of them, which is a shame. I would like to.
Yeah.
And someone just said that the Warhorn makes a different sound.
Does it?
Oh, every Warhorn needs to make a different sound. Okay, the Crimson Lion one makes a different sound, or the roar is very like subtle, it's hard to hear. And like the Super Adventure Warhorn makes that different sound, right? There's a few of them that make different sounds. Every Warhorn needs to make a special sound. Not like every Warhorn in the game, but these special ones, I feel like, I don't know, they need to make a special sound. That's awesome.
I think so. I mean, to me, Warhorns are always usually the weakest skin in a weapons collection, partly because they have
cool, right? Like it's a difficult thing to make look cool.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with a cone that's got a nozzle on the end, can't you? It's but I think but like you're saying, getting the unique sounds for each of these new Warhorns, it's a big selling point. Really big selling point.
And you know what? I mean, I'm going crazy over this, I know, but I usually don't like any of the foci that come into the game because they're just like this, I don't know, this handheld thing. But this one looks like a fist weapon almost. It looks like something you throw on a brawler.
Doesn't it?
So even that I can get behind. I was like, even the focus I like. Like, this is... It's very unusual for me to like that many of the skins in a set.
Yeah.
The only thing is that there's so many effects on some of these that I almost worry. I'm like, when I was watching the video, I thought, add a couple more, add some footprints. This could be a legendary. Like, I was like, I hope they don't go that far, you know? But
well, I think it was...
I like it.
It was your video, Alex, I think, because you noticed that one of the weapons had like drips coming off it and stuff like that. And I think you said a similar thing about like, oh, they could have just easily added footprints or something to these weapons. Like I don't know, the effects are really, and it's kind of a dangerous road to go down. Like, I mean, if you're putting out so many skins that are so shiny, you kind of have to keep beating yourself in how shiny the next weapon set you put out is, right? And it's going to be harder to see like the ones that don't have effects on them when you're, in a Zerg or something like that. But yeah, I mean, these weapons just looked amazing. They really did.
But they are every single Black Lion weapon set that comes out is so unique, and it has a very specific theme to it. And as long as weapons continue to be undieable, that's going to be a big selling point as well. Some people have blue armor, and that is what it is. And if a weapon does not match their blue armor, then
they're not going to get it.
They're not going to get it. So, as long as they keep putting out, I hope they kind of keep changing the spectrum, and they have. I mean, we've gotten. I got my pink weapons, and we have. Don't roll your eyes at me. I saw that. More pink weapons. More pink weapons.
You know what? The other interesting thing too about this particular set and about the previous set, the Daydreamers, is that we're starting to see a connection between there's an outfit that comes to the gem store, then there is usually a backpack that's associated either in-game or in the gem store or a multiple of ways to get it, PvP for like the Balthazar's piece, for example. And then they are now making like matching weapon sets to go along with these. So you had the Balthazar weapon skins, you had the Daydreamer skins, and now these scientific skins match very well with the scientific outfit we got, or the Mad Scientist outfit we got just not too long ago.
So Duena weapons.
Next.
Well, so I said that in my video, and we have the Duena back piece, of course, which totally skipped my mind. But we also have a few Duena weapons. We have the longbows and the short bow.
True.
So that worries me a little bit. That like maybe in Heart of Thorns we'll get like more weapons that represent Duena or something. That would be really cool.
They're very expensive, aren't they? The feathers and
very. Yeah.
It makes me hopeful for more like god outfits, like a Grenth one, that kind of thing. Grenth weapons. I would probably
I just looked at the concept art yesterday, and I was like, "Ooh, we got Melandru, and we've got Lissa." Do we have the Grenth hood? We don't have the Grenth.
That's what makes me kind of question.
Do we?
No, we just have the hood, and so it kind of. Are they going to implement the same kind of? Yeah. Shadow of Grenth. But like, because we have the hood, does that make it more or less likely? Like, they must have to just go in a different direction from the hood when they make the outfit, kind of thing. Like, make it look totally different.
Right, you can't just make the hood with that outfit because it was like, oh, why did I buy the hood? But is the hood armor? If the hood,
it is.
That's the difference.
Yep.
I've got it on my necro at the moment. It looks really cool.
Hopefully they'll be able to go back and like fill in some of those holes, like the Duena weapons and the Grenth, the rest of the Grenth outfit, for example.
What's tricky, especially about the Grenth one, is that's kind of like we see that face is kind of the image of Grenth everywhere, like, and so it's kind of it's going to be tricky for them to not implement the same kind of look into any Grenth outfit they make. That being said, I mean, there was the Grenth outfit in Guild Wars 1, which looked totally different, so they could just go do something quite similar to that.
Yeah.
Unless they go for Doom or something. The Doom outfit.
Doom outfit.
That would be nice.
Yes, it would.
Speaking of, the Duena outfit, I thought was incredible. Instant buy for me. Instant buy.
What did Bogar think?
He bought it.
He bought it.
He bought it. Yes, I was very shocked. Well, not for Gumbor. He previewed it on his Norn and said this looks stupid. And then he's like, let me just see. I mean, it's Dwayna. It's kind of supposed to, the original outfit in the original concept art is female. So let's go look at it on a female. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm buying it. That looks awesome on a female.
Well, the weird thing is, it actually looks pretty cool on a Char as well, because
it does look cool on a Char. Yeah.
When everyone went bananas about the tail thing on the Char for the Balthazar thing, it's got like a little cloth bit that goes back on the tail on the Char, and it's actually quite cool. The only slight weird thing is, like it's got like the wing things here. Does that clip at all when you're in combat? Because
know.
No.
I haven't.
You've got it.
I haven't. I put it on my Char. I haven't actually fought with it though. But the only bad thing though is that Char and Asura females get the male version. So that really sucks.
Because they've been quite good recently in not doing that.
They have, yeah. They've been really good with making a female version. I
guess it maybe just
exemplar outfit, that corset, like Countess Anis's corset on a female Char is a corset on a female Char. Like, it looks a little goofy, but it's at least the female version. And this really, really disappointed me that my cute little girl Asura got the male version. I was like, oh. Although the headpiece on an Asura is hilarious. It is gigantic. It's like as tall as the Asura.
I'm tempted to get it just for the giant headpiece. The ridiculously giant headpiece on the Zero.
It looks. I laughed when I put it on my Asura. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It dies really well. The other thing is there's kind of a little half cape on the back of this outfit.
Yeah,
even on Char. That's actually where a lot
of people have been saying.
That's actually where I noticed it. Was I put it on my Char? I was like, this looks really cool, and I started to run around in it, and like the animation on it is very well done, and it's very flowy and smooth, and like it's like, you gotta be kidding me. This is a cape. I'm looking at a cape on a Char. It's a little half cape, guys. But it's a start. I was like, wow.
Still counts.
Still counts. Do you think possibly with guild halls we could be getting capes?
I think so.
I very much hope so. I think we said this when the trailer for the expansion came out. I think we hoped for that, and I would really hope so. If like that was like the end kind of progression thing, you do some amazing guild mission type thing, and your reward at the end of it is capes. That would be incredible.
Yeah. I'd like to see that. The one thing that I was slightly disappointed about, well, this is just like a thing that Guild Wars does anyway, that I really wanted to wear my Light of Dwayna back piece on the Dwayna outfit, but because it's an outfit, you can't have your back piece shown at the same time. So it's just like, boo.
Yeah, I thought of that too. Oh well.
Capes.
Ak is you're our resident Char expert. Is capes on the Char, like, is that something that you've always wanted to see? Because that's ArenaNet's kind of said, like, they've kind of blamed the Char for that's why there's no capes, because it's very hard to put a cape on a Char.
Sure, so. Blame the most unpopular, coolest race in the game. Go ahead, just keep kicking the best beast race ever made. Human racists. Yeah. Well, if they do, I would love it if like the capes always were constantly billowing. So it's kind of like Mojo Jojo, because his cape is always billowing no matter the weather. So I hope they can always have that like billowing effect. Because that cape you showed in the picture you shared of the Char, it's like, it's not a long, like going to a wedding cape. It's like a tiny thing, but it's kind of cool if it is kind of a small thing that's always billowing off your back. And
yeah, because it does kind of stick out. Yeah. It doesn't just hang straight down.
I don't think it should be. I don't think the Char should be that big of a hurdle, especially if it can look like that.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, Char don't need capes. They're just, it interferes with our fucking armor. I mean, bloody armor.
Yeah, I think, and the cape on the Dwayna outfit does, like, it's gonna clip with a weapon that's stowed on your back, and I think that's something that we're just gonna have to accept. You know, if we do get capes, it's we're just gonna have to accept it. That, oh well.
I'm happy with that.
Going to be some clipping.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna have to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the cape that's on the Balthazar armor. I mean, that looks fantastic on like a race like the Char. And that's like a pretty long cape too. I mean, I would love like capes like that. Like that looks great because it just has a wonderful triangular feel to it. It builds up real nicely. I mean, I'd love to see capes like that. But I really hope that, because capes have been such a big thing in the community, and because they obviously aren't out yet, and they keep saying how they have numerous issues. I hope that there's sort of like an extra special thing to capes. I don't know what that could be. Perhaps some certain stat, or you could float a little bit. I don't know. Something a little extra pizzazz than just like, look at my flap of cloth on my back.
Dude,
kind of neat.
Can you imagine capes while gliding? That'd be amazing.
Oh god.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the extra pizzazz is going to be your guild emblem, because if we get capes, it's going to be tied to your guild.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, I think that's going to be our special thing.
And it would be like really nice if like the cape like had like little interesting particle effects and stuff, depending on what the image was.
Shiny
like
capes.
Yeah,
or like little like Irish little four-leaf clovers.
It'd be amazing if what would be really cool is if you could, how with the mini llama you can tier it up in the forge. If you could do that with capes, so like you could do like that, you could complete like a high tier guild mission. But as an incentive to keep doing it, you could then, every time you complete it, instead of getting that reward, you could get like materials that you could then collect and then forge with your cape to tier it up and make it look more fabulous and stuff.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
I like that.
It could be like the legendary cloak from WoW, only that it could actually look cool and actually something to it. Cool. It doesn't just look like a piece of square.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of cool to have some. Yeah, there could be so many cool options to do with that. So that'd be really neat.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our last topic: the changes to the condition system. This is very. I'm gonna defer to you guys because this was a lot of info.
Numbers.
It almost went over my head. I was
numbers.
like, okay.
Numbers.
So we've got pretty much almost every condition is changing, and as well as like stacks versus duration. So I almost don't know where to start here.
So they're removing the 25 cap on damaging conditions, I think, and they're going to reassess it. And they said that they were taking the cap off so that, because it's kind of one person can get someone to 25 stacks of whatever, and so it's just pointless you running condition stuff because it's going to get there anyway, just passively. But they said they actually made the point of stressing that like you wouldn't notice the limit even on world bosses, like you wouldn't notice conditions reaching a cap. Like that's crazy to me. But it's just and obviously they're gonna change how much damage each condition does, just so it can just scale relatively and stuff like that. But I think it's amazing because for so long it's been, I don't know, condition stuff is just this, Zerker. Why would you run condition stuff? You get passive conditions on like every skill anyway. You may as well just run full power instead. And this is amazing for me as a necro because I'm gonna be able to run like sinister stuff and just like properly blast stuff and really feel like I'm making a difference and it's worth running. So yeah, I'm super happy about these changes. Super happy.
Yeah, I'm really stoked that I might be able to finally run a viable Trapper Ranger in PvE, because like spots, you can spotters all very well and good, but when I started playing Guild Wars 2, I was like, I can just chuck fire traps about and then entangle people and just have a lot of fun. But because it's kind of useless at the moment, because conditions aren't bigged up, you end up running kind of like you were saying, you end up running these power builds almost exclusively. But now that they stack intensity in stacks rather than someone, I get burned for 5 seconds. It's like, oh, well, that's great, fine, whatever. But now you can say, right, someone's going to take 10 stacks of burning from, setting off a fire trap or something, and then people who wander into the area of effect might get 5 stacks of burning for the duration or whatever. But having that it's just cool. It's really, really interesting, and yeah. I've only kind of I've only had like a really brief kind of flick through the blog post since it came out today. But one of the interesting things to note is that they're not blanket doing this to everything. So something like vulnerability is still going to be a 25 stack max, because like Roy said in his blog post, as fun as 700 stacks of vulnerability would be, it might break a few things.
That's actually what I worry about with almost no limit on stacks. It's like all I kept thinking is I'm gonna die instantly. Like I'm gonna get 100 stacks of burning put on me in PvP and just die. Like I'm not gonna have any reaction time. That's my fear.
Well,
that's
the removal is the same as it's always been.
That's true.
So when you remove a conditioned stack, you remove the entire stack. It doesn't matter whether it's 5 stacks of bleeding or 50 stacks of bleeding. Now you may not live long enough with 50 stacks of bleeding on you, but you can remove that entire stack right away. So if you played a class or you had a class that had resistance for 2 or 3 seconds and someone stacks up 50 stacks of bleeding on you, you can then remove that right away so that you don't actually suffer from that condition. So like that's, I guess, the counterplay to that. What has me really excited about the changes, and there's a lot of condition changes in there, but the most exciting one to me is the fact that if you don't spec into, or if you don't wear conditioned armor or weapons, you're going to see a decrease in the amount of condition damage you do. There's going to be a nerf. If you hit, and this is a theoretical number right now, but if you hit 700 condition damage or above, this is when you start to see an actual buff to the amount of condition damage you're doing. So this means that if you're an actual condition class, a condition user, you're going to see an increase in your damage even with the nerf to the numbers and with the stacking capabilities. And if you are not a condition class, those passive conditions that you put on there won't do as much damage, because you shouldn't really be rewarded with condition damage if you're not stacking conditions. They still do a little damage. They should do a little damage, but they shouldn't be a significant number.
You can't just go full Zerker and also do all this condition damage.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's the thing, right? Crit chance and stuff still affects your condition damage. It affects both, and that's good. That's fine, because you want to still have crit chance and stuff like that. But what's tricky now is that you can kind of, just because so many skills in the game, apply conditions, you can run full Zerk and just, apply like all these conditions without even speccing into it, and they still do like a decent chunk of damage based on your crit chance and that kind of thing. And it's just, I think this is a balance that's really needed, and I think if it all goes as intended, there is now going to be more defined roles between like physical damage specs and like more conditioned kind of things, and you're gonna really feel like like what you're playing and the kind of way you've been built has a lot more identity, has a lot more of a role in whatever kind of situation you're in, and I think that's amazing. It's gonna be super good to run around and just kill things instantly with and things like epidemic and stuff. That's gonna be incredible. With no caps, like, and using like epidemic on a necro, it's just gonna kill in situations like in World v World. It's going to be amazing.
There was a significant change to confusion as well.
Yes.
So currently confusion is very good if you place it on a ranger and then he rapid fires you and he kills himself. It's good in that sense, but if you use it in PvE often, you put it on a boss who either seldom attacks or doesn't attack very much or slowly, for example, then the skill, or that condition rather, is fairly useless. So they've now split it so that it does a base amount of damage over time, and they've lowered the damage on when you attack doing damage to the player, but that component is still there as well, making it more balanced of a condition.
Because I remember people saying that, like, around when they were announced and showed off the Chronomancer, because I think, was it the elite skill applied confusion and slowed enemies in the area, like that big well? And so people were like, well, what's the point? If you're slowing enemies, they're not going to attack as much, so the confusion is just not going to hit as often.
Right.
And so, like, now they're doing this, it's still going to be doing some kind of damage over time thing, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think that was definitely needed just to make slow and confusion work, kind of in some kind of synergy, because it just otherwise would have seemed like a weird, pointless addition of confusion on that big well. So I'm definitely happy with that.
Now, Alex talked about vulnerability and the fact that that is not changing in how high vulnerability can stack. There's a very good reason for it. Vulnerability is 1% per stack up to 25%. Any more than that, and it gets overly ridiculous.
Exactly.
The good news for vulnerability, though, is right now, only physical damage affects vulnerability. So if you're a condition class, vulnerability doesn't help you whatsoever. Come this change, condition classes will now be affected by vulnerability as well. So physical and condition damage will be affected by this 1% per stack of vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big change as well for condition classes.
Definitely.
But I think it's needed, though, isn't it? It's absolutely needed.
Yeah, 100%, 100 bazillion percent.
Ooh,
yeah.
There's changes to movement too, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and this is kind of making people. There's not really like a general opinion on this that I've seen. There's some people that are really not a fan of it, and other people I've seen not mind it at all. I don't know. This whole thing of like, oh, I've chilled this guy, but if he uses like a movement skill, you know, should it affect it or should it not? Should he move slower because he's chilled or not? Personally, I think yeah. Because
I think so.
If I'm on my Reaper and I'm trying to kill a warrior and I've chilled him, he shouldn't be able to use like Greatsword 5 or Greatsword 3 or something and
just
zip away. That's going to be horrible, right? That's going to be a pain in the ass.
Inks is dying right now.
I mean,
you're right, bud.
I love you, ArenaNet. I really, really love you, but I do not like this change. I talked with Matsta for like 45 minutes last night about this. He loves the change. He thinks it's great that it's being like normalized across the board, and it does
what class
fix
does he
some.
play, just out of interest?
In Dungeons, he's playing Warrior right now, so of course he loves it. He usually plays Mesmer a lot though as well. But anyway, so it does fix problems like speedy boots and getting super speed with an engineer. There are fractal, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but there are fractal instances, there are dungeon instances, there are open world instances where you can just break the map, you can break encounters, you can skip content, the list goes on. It's just an exploit, and it's not good for the game, period. So I understand that part, and I understand that they don't want that to be a thing as well. On the other hand, you introduce Reaper, who has 10 billion chills out the wazoo, and now my warrior can just say, "Oh, you chilled me? Oh, I'm going to leap away. Goodbye."
Yeah.
And then the Reaper has to catch up to him.
And considering Reaper's a light armored class on the front line, as soon as they get outside of their comfort area, they're going down. It's ridiculous.
The other problem, so here's my basic thing with it. If you're a slow class, I feel like it kind of punishes you. If you're a fast class already who has these leap skills, these bull rushes, etc., a great sword, or sorry, fiery great sword, the conjured sword rather, has a rush skill that wouldn't be affected by. Matter of fact, I don't think it's affected by it right now anyway. But that wouldn't be affected. These rush skills and these leap skills. I feel like this takes away, and calling it a skill, I guess, is a bit of a stretch, but I feel like this takes away from skillful play. If I cripple you, or if I slow you, if I chill you, whatever, if I slow you down somehow, the other player who has the condition on them needs to be aware of the conditions that are ticking on them, how much time is left, if they've removed it or not, and then use their skills intelligently to get out of combat, to reposition themselves, whatever the case may be. And I feel like this kind of punishes that sort of play because you've now normalized it. The player no longer cares whether he's crippled, chilled, or whatever. He still leaps, and it allows him to do his normal full attack or you know, get out of combat or whatever the case is. And that's kind of what I don't like about it.
I mean, like you were saying, when you've got these conditions on you, it's not outside of the boundaries of reason to have a condi clear on your bar, is it? Say if you play a guardian and you've got greatsword on and you get hit by all these chills and cripples, you pop purging flames and then you skill 3 greatsword out of there. It's not. I completely agree with you, man. I think it's completely daft, and for the classes that don't have those leap skills, like I don't think Mesmer really has them, do they? And does Necro have a leap, Corvus? I can't think of one.
Well, they're getting a rush on Reaper.
They're getting a rush on the Reaper. There's a few mobility skills. I mean, there's Spectral Walk. They're called Teleport to your Flesh Worm thing. There's Death Shroud too, but like none of them are like movement skills. They're just kind of more used in teleport.
They're not leaps and dashes.
Necro confidence.
Nothing that'll be. Yeah, exactly. That's the only one that we're gonna get. So I mean, I think this is only really a benefit.
I don't think it's the end of the world, and in general, it'll be fine. This is really more of an issue in World vs. World and structured PvP. In PvE,
it's going to be an annoyance in PvE, isn't it? It's
just like when you're running through a zone and a hyena nips at your heel and cripples you, and it's just like, oh, what the hell? This is annoying, you know. So in PvE, I get it, right? And it doesn't really affect too much things. It actually fixes more problems than it causes. But in structured PvP, in World vs. World, especially like solo roaming, I don't know. I just don't love it.
I think in fights against other players, it's just kind of like all it's gonna do is like make people just use like kind of cheap tactics to get away. If I apply like chill on you for however many seconds, I'm doing it because I want to get close and do like a huge attack on you and get as much damage out as I can. If you can just run out of it until it's the conditions worn off or something, it's just kind of there's no tactics in it. It's just an easy way out, and I don't know. Yeah, it should force people to use Conde clears instead of just running away for a split second instead.
And maybe my thought process is a bit wrong. What I like about it currently is it punishes you for just spamming skills. You're running around and you panic, or a player panics. He's in PvP combat and he's like, oh, I need to leap away, and he goes to leap away and he goes 2 inches instead of 2 feet. You know what I mean? And I like that. I like the fact that you can panic and make a mistake and press the wrong skills, or you're just spamming skills and not paying attention. You should be punished for not paying attention when you're playing against other players. That's just my thought on it. There is a sort of a reverse counter argument you can make where, this new play style is that you can now think smartly about, well, I'm crippled, but don't worry about it. I can still leap because that's an option available to me. I just feel like it benefits. The problem with that argument, I feel like, is that it still benefits players who are just going to spam skills and not really pay attention to what's going on in the environment.
But like we were saying, that same player, if they kept it as it is, they could just go, instead of leaping, I'll just use Purging Flames or Signet of Renewal or something like that, or like what's the Necro heal skills? It's Consume Conditions.
Consume Conditions, yeah.
Something like that. It's just, I don't know. The interesting thing is they almost the blog post kind of seems to justify it by saying using a movement with super speed will propel you much further than they intend, and that's not something that they want. But why not just apply it to swiftness or something then? Why not just apply it to the boon side of things, or the status effect that you get when you use something like Quickening Zephyr or Lightning Reflexes? Unless it's all part of the same bunch of coding, in which case I could see there'd be a lot of issues trying to separate them there. But if it seems that, like, to me, as I read that paragraph, it sounds like the positive effects of things like swiftness and moving further than intended is the issue, and the consequence of affecting chills and cripples and what have you is like a side effect that seems to be taking the forefront rather than the other side of the coin.
I mean, there may be some technical limitations that we just don't understand. It's very possible. As a matter of fact, it's probably very probable that in order to change one value, they need to change both values, and it just makes sense logically to make this a flat thing across the board. So, like, that makes sense to me. If there was a way to get around that in the future, or if there is a way to get around that, then hopefully they will take a look at that and maybe take that into consideration.
I mean, this whole thing, like, this could easily come down to something that we just can't possibly know yet.
Right.
They could have tested this stuff, and with the condition changes, and maybe with how many conditions that specializations we don't know about yet could apply, this might have been a completely necessary thing for balance, right? We've not seen a Reaper properly. We've not been able to have our hands on stuff like that. We don't know how heavy chill's going to be hard. You know, if every skill is going to inflict chill, you're going to be able to want to still move without wasting your con declares all the time and that kind of thing. And so it could just be more of a balance thing based on these condition changes and what the new specializations are going to be able to do. And so it sounds weird to us because we're still in the kind of base game, but once we have our hands on all these new ways to apply these kind of soft CCs all the time, then it might make sense and actually be useful. I guess we just have to wait and see. But right now, obviously, I want my chills to still have an effect on people. So I guess I just need to, I don't know. I'm just gonna wait and see, and hopefully it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, we are actually at our hour, so we need to end the actual show. I am going to end with one thing I actually forgot about. We got the answers to the poll, the new names for the 5 locations in Lion's Arch. So I'm going to go through all 5 of them real quickly, and I know Inks is crying because pretty much almost there's no NPC names in any of these.
That's okay.
So the canal,
I'm actually really happy with them.
Yeah, I know. I thought of you. The lighthouse is the Phoenix Roost, and you were the one who wanted that ox, so I thought of you instantly.
Field of the Fallen.
And Field of the Fallen. Yep. So we've got the Canal Ward is the Commodore's Quarter. The Lighthouse is the Phoenix Roost. Lion's Court is still Lion's Court. No Festival Plaza for me.
Yes.
The Air Base is Lion's Arch Aerodome, and the Memorial is the Field of the Fallen. I'm happy with all of those.
Yeah.
I voted differently for some of them, but I'm happy with them.
I voted for all of them that had NPC names, except for I like the Phoenix one. I voted for as well because I thought it represented everything well, and that whole event during the fight was like, I don't know, it's quite nice. You had to escort the guy out of the lighthouse, that kind of thing, or the girl out of the lighthouse.
Or Grady.
So that's why I voted for
all of the interior.
Grady died for
the
nothing.
lighthouse. After
Grady died for nothing.
For shame. I do like all the names. For what it's worth, I do like all the names. They're very cool. I'm not unhappy with any of them. King Dork's Court, as much as I liked it, didn't really make sense. And anyway,
I think it's weird though.
Names.
It was weird being given the choice of these names because none of them really felt like, oh yeah, this is what it should be. Like it kind of, I think because I had an input, it was like, I don't know, I was being really critical and kind of, but now I've seen them on paper and this is like an official thing, this is what it's going to be called. I'm like, yeah, of course it should be called that. Like it makes sense. And I think it's just because it was coming from them, like them naming these things like that and listing it as this is what it is makes sense to me. But I guess I don't like the pressure of influencing Tyria that much.
Too much pressure.
Yeah.
Well, I did get my Lion's Arch
Lion's
Aerodrome.
Arch Aerodome, yeah.
Aerodome. I did get that, and of course, Lion's Court stayed the same, so I'm happy with those.
I can't even remember what I voted for.
I knew I would forget, so I recorded it. Otherwise, I would forget half of them. There was one before we end. There was one little tidbit I think a lot of people missed in this blog post, and it said that there would, when they relaunch LA, when they reveal it, that there would be some sort of like festivity events or something going on. So
yeah,
this big patch we're getting, this big content feature patch that we're kind of getting, could have some LA celebration content as well, maybe.
Dragon Bash.
Dragon
Bash.
Morty
maybe
Bash.
something new. That'd be amazing.
It did say also that they like watch out for the forums for announcements on community events, community-run events as well. So I wonder if they're actually going to like tell us beforehand when this is coming, so that communities can.
They will. I think so.
Yeah.
This whole thing has gotten me super hyped. Like the concept art looks amazing. Like you know, it's got the arch and stuff. A lot of people have been saying it looks really Orion. You know, just because you see those kind of like
arches, the big stone arches. Yeah.
And it definitely does look like that. It just looks amazing, and I can't wait to see it. Kind of, I don't know, just seeing a picture of Lion's Arch where it doesn't look like a gloomy day is just gonna be
a hodgepodge. It looks so clean.
Clean and bright,
and
it's just
not in disarray. even old Lion's Arch was kind of in disarray and in pieces.
Exactly, yeah. So this is gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be a big change. All right, guys, we are going to end the show there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're on Twitch, stay tuned for the after show. We'll answer all your questions. And If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to scroll down and look at the links in the description to find our YouTube channels, our Twitters, and follow us there for more Guild Wars 2 news and reviews. We will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Brady died for nothing.